Well, hello there. Welcome to the live. This is my first live, and I decided that I will be working on a podcast. I've been doing this a long time in the making. I do talk a lot about different things on my TikTok channel, which my username is Unbraced Sun, and that's why you see anthropology with Unbraced Sun. It's usually more fun when I do have some comments and people that go live with me. But today we're just gonna basically figure out the ins and outs of this. Let's see. Oh, there's one person watching. Hello. If you type in the comments, I can see live comments currently. And today I just wanted to do an intro about what this channel is going to be and kind of set up what it is. As you see here, I'm going to be speaking about anthropology. And anthropology is just kind of the study of how we interact. It connects all of the subjects into one. So specifically, it's the study of humanity concerns with behavior, human biology, culture, society, linguistics, in both present and past, including past human species. So it's a big word for basically saying that I don't want to limit myself to like one topic, because I have noticed when we're talking on TikTok that we kind of limit ourselves. Like when we talk about Republicans or Democrats, when we talk about masculine and feminine, when we talk about everything has just that subject. The people who talk about that only stay in that subject, and they don't recognize that everything that we do kind of comes from our society as a whole. So you can't talk about left wing and right wing without recognizing that some of that has to do with religious beliefs, some of that has to do with socioeconomic beliefs, and furthermore, where each person's perspective comes from. And it's easier to do that when we're talking as a whole with people who have studied different topics. So if we can get the scientists in, we can get the sociologists in, we can get the psychiatrists in, and we get everybody in to speak about our society, to speak about how these things are interconnected, how your tax bracket actually tells you a lot about what you're spending on. Your mental health tells you a lot about things that seem so like separate. So welcome to the channel. Thank you for coming here and chatting with me for a little bit. Thank you for taking your time out of your day. We'll do a lot more editing and things in the future, but right now I just felt like it's time. It's time for us to chat. The chat is open for us to talk. I only have currently 113 subscribers. I've worked on this. I've had this channel for quite some time and have talked about an array of things. And I'm finally ready to like chat about what is going on. So who is here? Welcome to the live. Who's hanging out with me? My username that people call me now, like my new title is Sun. I don't go by my regular name anymore because it is bland and I am way more exciting than that. No offense, Mom. I know you'll probably watch this later, but I just want to be Sun. It's my new name. So when I do talk about, let's see, what is this? The shift in consciousness. I think after 2020, we all kind of like, a lot of people got to stay home. So not everybody, but a lot of people got to stay home. And in that time at home, we had a lot of aha moments, and it appeared differently to each person. Some people realize that they're at work more than they're at home. Some people realize that they don't actually like their home life. Some people recognize that they don't even like who they are. And they started to do a deeper dive into who they were with all this extra time. What can you do when you're around your house more often? Are you actually a deep thinker? Do you like to read books? Are you someone that actually likes to be an introvert and work makes you an extrovert, and maybe people have reassessed their careers. 2020 has literally, I think, made us all look at the fragileness of our life and the fact that we don't have a lot of time here. So what are we doing with that time? And in turn, it made us recognize that we have a lot more in common than we think. We have a lot of things that we want. Like, we all want to live a happy, healthy life. We all want to have a family, whatever that family looks like to you, to be able to support that family, to be able to grow with that family, and to be able to spend time with that family. And a lot of times, let's see, I don't really like this angle, y'all. I'm going to have to work on that. Let's see, pull my chair up a little bit. Okay. So a lot of times, after reevaluating and spending the time with ourselves, we recognize that we have to make some changes. We realize we have to do something, a lot of things a little differently. Then we went on to find our more time in social media, right? So we went on to recognize even our friends aren't what we thought they were, because they're reevaluating as well. And we started to get into more disputes with random strangers on the internet, which that was a lot of fun, right? So discussing topics that are of special interest to you with absolute strangers, and finding some camaraderie, finding some differences. Now you can actually I'm going to talk a lot about TikTok, because I feel like I've had a lot of aha moments through that. If you're not on TikTok, do not get addicted. Don't suck yourself into there. But it really does feel like you find some people who get you for who you are. We started to put TikTok had a way of putting us into communities. So they put us into communities of people who believed, first, it was really easy for them to put us into people who believed in politics one way, either the left or the right, or the religious or the spiritual, and it divided us into that, so that we got into these little circles where we spoke to the people in our group, and we were able to recognize our differences and our similarities, and we were able to then come up with ways to talk to the other side. And I think we're recognizing now that, like, we're not as far away from each other as we think, or as we're made out to be. Our problems are not as far away from each other as we think they are either. That a lot of what we fight about is what we've been told to fight about within special interest groups. It's like killing me that someone is here hanging out with me and I don't know who they are. So I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope you're drinking water and taking care of yourself. And thank you for hanging out with me through all of this. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? Okay. This is only a test. Okay. So I have gone live 1 or twice other times. That's cool. There you are. Hey, Shalom. Finally, I figured out who it is. Honestly, like, you're like one of my number one supporters in this whole thing. And I guess I just came to work on YouTube so that I can kind of be more formal, work on my podcast, work on my little clips, and that kind of thing. And thank you for spending time with me. Thank you. Okay, so Sloan says, interesting conversation. Thank you. So once we figured out that we don't have enough time for ourselves, right? B, we looked into, like, who we are. Do we like that person? Do we like what we're doing? How are we spending our time? Time is literally as valuable. Time is not money anymore. I think we shift from the, like, time is money kind of idea to, like, some of us, I did, at least, and the people I'm talking to. So my echo chamber, and I guess we all went into echo chambers when they divided us, right? Once we recognized that, we reevaluated how we want to go back to work. And that's when the jobs started opening up again, and we saw the jobs not paying as much. We recognized that we, as a collective, are not getting paid enough. We're not getting paid enough for the work that we do and for our valuable time, right? Because basically, if you're getting paid $10 an hour or $15 an hour, that is just about as much as daycare, right? So that's a problem. Or that is just about as much as just to kind of get a car to drive to work, if you can, with insurance. Lovely, right? Um, and to have just a little left over for you, maybe, but mostly they used to talk about living paycheck to paycheck, but now we're living debt to live. And so a lot of us are trying to figure out how to uh, come up for air from the situation that we have, in which even $15 an hour, really you need two people in a household making $15 an hour to be able to pay for a house, have some money in savings, buy food that you want, have a little bit of entertainment. So we need now two income houses. And where does that put our families? So sold the American dream, where one person can go out, get a job, and one person takes care of home. That's not possible anymore, because unless you're making 65,000, which is a number that I say a lot of us, which is a number that we came up with of the American dream, being able to have a house at 65,000. Usually that's about $100,000 to $200,000 house. You're not getting a $500,000 house for that. So as the market goes to 500,000, we're going to fall even further behind if you don't already have a house. So where does that put our kids? And again, now putting us both at work at 65, hopefully, right? Like, hopefully we can make two people making 30,000. That sounds about right, right? How do we actually have time for our kids at 8 hours? Actually, we say 8 hours a day, but we get paid for 8 hours, but we don't get paid for the hour to work driving to and from, or the hour lunchtime. So that's a minimum of 2 hours approximately. And so now we're looking at 10 hours a day, right? Unless you're lucky and you're 5 minutes from work, or you work from home, and those are absolutely lovely things, because then you don't have to worry about buying lunch as well. So like, we are not fitting. This is not working for us as a whole. And now the businesses are saying the American people don't want to work. But the American people recognize that actually going to a business is not working for their families. It's not working for them to be able to get ahead. You're never going to get to $30 an hour. Like, that is going to be like one out of every, I'm making this number totally up, but there's one manager for every 10, 15 employees. So 1 out of 15 of us are going to make it to where we can kind of do well, right? And then the higher boss than that, there's one of them for, so like a manager versus a supervisor or an assistant manager, there's one of them, or maybe an assistant and a manager for like 20 people, right? So now odds are 1 in 20. Now, to make it out of the loop and to make it to become someone who is financially free, meaning all of your stuff is paid off, right? And you have vacation every year that you don't worry about. You just go on vacation. Those GMs, there's one GM for a whole district. So to climb out of paycheck to paycheck in the work environment is not likely, right? It's like one person out of a whole district gets to GM, or general manager usually has one store or two stores, and then there's district manager. But all of those things, we're looking at 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000. And how likely are you to be so amazing that you're 1 in 1,000? And even so, like, then you leave this circle. But what about your family? What about your friends? We're recognizing that this system altogether doesn't work for us. We've been sold this dream that if you work hard enough, but out of everybody that's working 40 hours, only one of them make it to supervisor, and only maybe 2 of them make it to. And so the math just isn't mathing for us, right? Even with, I finally got my degree. I'm so excited about it. I'm applying for jobs. They don't want to pay over $20 an hour. I'm actually looking at maybe $20, $25 an hour. Meanwhile, the bill that I have for my degree is $50,000 worth of debt, right? $50,000 worth of debt. How am I going to do that with this kind of money? And that's only for a bachelor's. What about a master's degree? It's just not panning out for us. So why is it not panning out? Well, first of all, it's very easy to see that we don't have this is the interconnectedness, right? We don't have access as an average person to our government, right? We can't go and talk to your mayor, your senator, your congressman, and them actually say, you know what, you're right, I got you, let me make some changes. And I don't just mean like we as just me, but we as a general people. Some states don't even allow initiatives from their people. Some states really have pushed that out. My state, fortunately, does. And so we can go around, knock doors, and we can actually get things changed in our Constitution. We're very lucky to have that. Petitioning but companies have direct access. Companies have direct access to the government in which they write a policy and what works for them, right? And they can send it to the governor along with lobbying, which just means giving gifts under a certain amount within a criteria. If you guys look at the application for lobbying, which I did, because I was like, hey, what if I'm a lobby? How would that get me to be able to speak to my governors? Well, it was mostly, and senators and all of those guys, it was mostly how to gift in a legal way. It really had nothing to do with merit, nothing to do with having signatures or having a group of people around you. So right now they made it so that money can get you in the door. And that's the only thing. And with us making, let's just give us, maybe we make $30 an hour. If you make $30 an hour, right, you're doing pretty well in this economy, but you still cannot go talk to your elected officials. Like you don't make enough to do that. So you have to get into a party and then we all have to agree and we don't agree. So it's like we do not have enough access to be able to change this. And it feels very daunting when we speak about, like I speak all day on TikTok and we talk about different ways to change the system. And it's just like, it could never because the companies are too big to fail. It could never because how could a company make money? And the companies have lost their social responsibility. They no longer have to pay for healthcare, right? Because they can do part-time employees. And even then they can do a high deductible, so less comes out of their pocket. And we can't really afford those deductibles. They no longer have to pay for housing or any assist or give you enough money so that you can pay for housing. That's your problem, not theirs. They have no responsibility to your budget. They don't have to give you raises, in which the highest raise I got from a company was cents on the dollar. And they told me I did so well, the highest they've ever rated anyone. And I got cents on the dollar, right? That's not getting me anywhere. And I was there for a year and a half by the time I get that. So where are we really going? This is very much so not a left and a right problem. This is an American problem, right? Because no matter who you are, to get out of paycheck to paycheck or debt to debt that we're in now is a tremendous ask. And it's systematically done. You can't put solar panels on your roof and make your own power. You have to sell it to the company first and get it back. You can't take your seeds out of your fruit, put it into the ground and get fruit. You have to go buy it. Everything that you have to do has already, a lot of your self-sustaining methods has already been structurally taken from you in many different ways. So you have to work really hard to be able to get your power back, to get your capabilities back from our system that is not working for 70% of the people, right? Because when we do taxes, this is the thing that actually kills me. When I looked at like how much we're actually making, it's hard to actually find like a government page that says the American people make this much. 30% makes this, 40% makes this, 50% makes this. It's hard to find that. And I should look a little harder, to be honest. But where I did find that information, it said 30% of people make $30,000 a year. 50% of people, or 52% of people, make $50,000 a year, and 70 something percent of people make $70,000 a year. It's very odd to see those kind of numbers aligning when nothing is a coincidence, right? Numbers definitely never line up by coincidence. So it's on purpose that they're keeping 75% of people under $70,000. And the average house, how much is the average house now? $400,000. Senator Ruben Gallo, I heard him speak last night, and he said that if you ask a banker to borrow 500,000, the average, not average house, but about the average house in my area, and you're making 65,000, you as a group, you and your spouse, or just you, whichever, they'll deny you. So it is imperative that we look at these kind of things and understand that we have been systematically shut out, and it is getting exponentially worse. Before, it used to be a middle class, but the middle class is now, it's just one class. Like it's the wealthy, the rich, the ultra rich, and the working class. And until we actually see that and start acting and requiring laws as a working class, we won't be able to get any further, because we're not going to agree on the ins and outs of our moral compass in society. We're not going to agree on a lot of things, but we can agree that if you work, I want to comment more, but I'm driving. That's okay. I'm going to be doing this more often, and you definitely can. We can always set up a time too. That would be nice. And for me, like, if you're a worker, you should be available to afford healthcare. Your water should be clean. Your food should actually be food and should not poison you. And your medicine should take care of you and should not have so many side effects, right? Even holistic medicine should actually be something that doctors prescribe. They should not only prescribe pills, right? Healthcare should also have a dietitian. It should also have dental. It should also have the maintenance care that we need, but it doesn't have that. In other countries, we do. We have prenatal care. We have, in other countries, there's better prenatal care. There is better all around everything. And every time our society gets together to change something, if it's changed federally, somehow it gets corrupted. That's one of the things I've noticed. Every time anything that's changed federally, it does get corrupted. So I do like the ability for states to help with their citizens and not companies to make laws for their citizens. That way things can't get corrupted on a large scale, but on smaller scales. And we can see maybe what's California doing, what's California specific district doing, how is that working for the people, and that kind of thing. But we don't have access to our governors. We don't have access to our senators. We don't have what we need to be able to collectively chat. And our news is divisive, and it's dividing us so that we only think of what they tell us we are. Like, you're only a Republican who is a religious, devout Republican, or you're only a Republican who's a capitalist, or you're only a Republican who believes in Trump, or you're only, like, how can we break it up so much that you're only some titles versus the person that you are? You are, you live in this neighborhood with all of these people, right? And so town hall meetings, we don't go to town hall meetings. We don't have the time or interest to do it. So there's just so much to talk about. Our interconnectedness, the structural systems that are harming us, and in our government that negatively impact our ability to be sustainable. And if it doesn't change soon, I don't see how this could sustain. Like, I hope for many differences, and I hope for the best, but I am absolutely expecting the worst. I appreciate your time. Thanks, brother-in-law, for coming here and listening to me, and I'll be back another time. Thank you.